Part 24. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, Beautiful. Chapter 231. Chapter 231 Happy Graduation. Yun Shen, you're finally here, everyone is waiting for you. As soon as the three of them entered the door, squad leader Zhang Lun came up to them immediately, his face full of joy. He thought Yun Su was not coming. Brother Chen, sit down quickly. As a freshman, the seniors called Lian Yu and the two brothers as if it was natural for them to do so. Yun Su looked at Lian Yu with a smile on his face and Qin Chen with an impatient expression, and it was a little funny. Is this Shi Niu and Shi Fear? There are more than 40 students in their class, 8 people per table, plus the extra Lian Yu and Qin Chen, there are 6 tables in total. A group of young and energetic teenagers occupy more than half of the hotel hall. Although it is a bit noisy, the rest are the diners looked on with tolerance. After all, everyone has had this kind of moment. Yunshan, do you drink? Zhang Lun held an open bottle of wine. After finally graduating, everyone inevitably wanted to indulge. In addition, most of them were adults, so drinking a little wine wouldn't hurt. Looking at Yun Su's expression of hesitation, Zhang Lun continued, Sister Yun, just drink less. Everyone really wants to have a drink with you. This is fruit wine, not high in alcohol content. He lowered his eyes, his expression a little sad. Okay, Yun Su nodded. Zhang Lun immediately raised a smile and poured her a glass. Yun Su looked at the light pink liquid with tiny bubbles in the cup. It should be okay to drink only 2 glasses, right? Sister Yun, we have never drank together. No, we both have to drink first. Lian Yu looked excited. He had never drank with Yun Su, so naturally he didn't know what kind of behavior she had after drinking. Qin Chen, who was sitting next to him, couldn't stop him in time, and he didn't have time to say what he said. He looked at the wine bottle on the table. It was a common fruit wine on the market. The alcohol content was indeed not high, but as we all know, fruit wine like this, when I first drink it, I don't feel anything at all. I just feel it's sweet and delicious, but the more I drink, the stronger it becomes. Thank you, Zhang Qingqin. Yun Su called her name clearly, and Zhang Qingqin's eyes instantly lit up like fireflies. Yun Su sighed inwardly and hugged her slightly. I hope everything is well with you. Yun Su reluctantly clinked a glass with him and took a small sip. The sweet and astringent liquid slid into his throat. The fruity breath surged up, and he could hardly feel the smell of wine. Yun Su felt relieved a little. Yun Su touched his slightly hot face and shook his head, feeling that he was still awake. He had just seen Yun Su's expression unchanged after drinking a few drinks. He hadn't thought much about it, but now Yun Su's face was red and her eyes were misty. It was obvious that she was a little drunk. Zhang Qingqin tried her best to keep her eyes wide open, not wanting the tears in her eyes to fall. She said okay in a hoarse voice. After letting her go, Yun Su looked at the glass with half a glass of wine left, hesitated, and drank it all in one gulp. After taking the sip, she clearly felt that her abdomen was burning a little, and the suppressed alcoholism also surged up. In an instant, a little bit over the top. After she finished speaking, she drank the wine in the glass in one gulp. She drank too quickly and choked. Yun Su patted her back gently to calm her down, which made her face even redder. Her hand holding the cup was shaking a little, and she obviously mustered up a lot of courage. She blushed and whispered, Yunshan, although we have only been classmates for 1 year, you may not even remember my name, but I still want to say thank you for giving me the courage and motivation to move forward when I was most confused. Yunshan, I also toast you, another classmate in the class, a girl who is usually taciturn and has a low sense of presence. If Yun Su had not had a good memory, she would not be able to remember her name. From the beginning of Lian Yu, things got out of control. The classmates who were still watching carefully immediately rushed up to clink glasses with Yunsu. It was difficult to refuse the hospitality, so Yunsu had to return the favor one by one. Each of them took a small sip and she drank 4 times. 5 glasses. Everyone present was a little startled. This girl usually had little presence in the class, and she had very few friends with her. No one expected her to say such a thing, and Yunsu was also a little stunned. After today, it may be difficult for us to meet each other again, but I know that I will definitely see your news in many places. I hope everything is well with you and I will always pay attention to you. I know that I have always been a very ordinary girl, but because of you, I know that ordinary people have the right to have dreams. I want to be a designer. This year, I will definitely be admitted to the best design school. The crowd that had just been silent for a moment became lively again. In 2s and 3s, you salute me and I salute you. Today is the last day of their high school years. Let all the regrets and reluctances stay today. Let's have a good time. Come on, Sister Yun, let's have another drink. Lian Yu was already drunk, and he pulled Yunsu and shouted that he had to drink another one. Yunsu stared at her bright eyes and raised the cup in a daze. Drink. Stop drinking. Qin Cheng quickly grabbed her cup. Don't drink it either. Qin Cheng looked at Lian Yu and gritted his teeth. I'm happy. I'm so happy. Qin Cheng cursed and regretted in his heart. He shouldn't have come here. He was just a meal for someone else's class, so Lian Yu insisted on dragging him to join in the fun. He asked the waiter to bring a cup of hot water and handed it to Yunsu. Yunsu held the cup obediently. The water was a bit hot and she drank it in small sips. Qin Cheng is a little embarrassed. Yunsu is like this. How can he go back later? Doesn't Uncle Yun think they drank her wine? Then he must not be beaten to death. Looking at Lian Yu's lack of heart, Qin Cheng frowned sadly. I'm going to the bathroom. Yunsu stood up, leaning on the table, her body swaying a little. Qin Cheng quickly asked a girl to accompany her. As soon as Yunsu left, the cell phone she left on the table rang. Right under Qin Cheng's nose, he inevitably glanced at it and frowned. Little Prince? Who is this? Yunsu would actually give someone such a childish name. The ring automatically hung up after it rang, but it rang again soon. Qin Cheng hesitated, fearing that the person on the other side was in a hurry, so he hesitated for a while and swiped to answer the call. Hello, he said cautiously. There was a moment of silence on the other side, and then a deep voice with a bit of intimidating aura asked, Who are you? Hearing the familiar voice, Qin Cheng slowly widened his eyes and looked at the little prince's note on the screen in disbelief. How could it be his uncle's voice on the other end of the phone? Little Prince. Qin Cheng felt a chill and felt the hairs all over his body stand up. Does his brother-in-law have anything to do with these 3 words? Does love really make people so blind? Qin Cheng was numb for a moment and shouted directly, Uncle. Qin Jiao was silent for another moment. Why is Susu's cell phone here with you? He guessed that Yunsu had eaten at home and sent her a message to ask her out, but she didn't reply, so he called. She went to the bathroom. Are you having dinner together? Well, Sister Yun and her friends are having dinner after graduation, Qin Cheng replied. Have dinner? These 3 words made Qin Jiao confused for a moment before he realized that he had forgotten the graduation process when he was a student. After all, his middle school days had passed a long time ago. Have you been drinking? Hearing the noisy voices over there, mainly the loud voice of Lian Yu, Qin Jiao frowned and raised his voice. Drink a little, Qin Cheng said carefully, feeling that something was wrong. Where? Purple Gold Hotel. I'll be right over, Qin Jiao said in a cold voice. Come here right away. Uncle, are you in Lanjing? Hello, hello. Before Qin Cheng could finish speaking, a busy signal came from the other side. He put down his phone in confusion. When did my uncle come to Lanjing? End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 232. Chapter 232 Same breath. Before Qin Cheng had time to think about it, in less than 10 minutes, Qin Jiao's figure appeared at the door of the hotel. On a hot June day, although the temperature had dropped a lot at night, it was still as hot as a steamer. He was wearing black clothes and black trousers, with a cold demeanor, and many people turned their attention to him. Qin Jiao is tall, has long legs, and has a wide field of vision. He can see Qin Cheng's table at a glance. He walked over with long strides, making many people feel a chill in the summer for no reason. Uncle Qin Cheng stood up quickly. Lian Yu, who was drinking happily on the side, heard Qin Cheng's address. His hand holding the glass paused for a moment. He turned around and saw Qin Jiao as frightened as if he had seen an alien. Uncle. Why are you here? You're not here to catch them too, are you? Qin Jiao did not reply, with a hint of impatience on his face, and asked directly, where is she? Still in the bathroom, haven't come back. Qin Jiao frowned. It had been more than 10 minutes since he called. Why haven't you come back yet? Qin Jiao sighed and walked forward. He smelled the smell of alcohol on Yunsu's body, and his frown deepened. The man on the ground looks like a dog, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, and looks like an elite, but now his hair is messy, his eyes are scarlet, his upper body is soaked, his left hand is hanging strangely, and it is obviously broken, and he doesn't even know who the instigator is. He took one look and walked directly to the bathroom. Other students looked at each other and looked at each other. Is this man with such a terrifying aura the elder brother Chang? Then why did you come to see Yun Shen? Auntie, I was wrong. I don't dare to do it anymore. Please let me go. I beg you, I drank too much. I really drank too much, a panicked male voice couldn't stop begging for mercy. It was hard to imagine. What had happened to him to be so scared? Why did you drink so much? Qin Jiao was reluctant to get angry with her after all. He just rubbed her furry head and then touched the little girl's red face. The heat spread to his fingertips and he asked gently. One sentence. Do you still dare? Huh? Before Qin Jiao walked to the bathroom, he heard a lazy female voice. No. I only drank a little bit. Yunsu stretched out his hand to show how much a little bit was. Speaking of where Yunsu made his move, the girl swallowed her saliva. She really didn't expect Yun Shen to be so powerful. If you move again, I will remove your hand. The girl's soft voice was terrifying. Qin Jiao was helpless. After all, he still said that he didn't drink too much. He didn't want to argue with the little drunkard, so he looked up at the helpless girl next to him and asked, Are you Susu's classmate? Qin Jiao stopped and realized that something must have happened inside. He looked at the restaurant where people were coming and going, and casually put the cleaning sign in the corner at the door of the bathroom, and then he opened the door and went in. Muji? Why are you here? Yunsu looked at him blankly, feeling that she might have drunk too much, otherwise how could she see Qin Jiao appear in front of her? Lian Yu looked at his anxious expression, reacted, and stammered, Little, uncle, are you here to see Sister Yun? As soon as he caught sight, there were two girls standing, one holding the other, with a timid face, while the anxious one's face was red, his eyes were hazy, and one hand was still firmly clasped around the paralyzed girl. A hand of a man on the ground. The girl nodded hurriedly. Qin Cheng glanced at the fool and didn't reply. Yunshen, forget it, let's go. There was also a timid female voice. She didn't see a cold glint flash in Qin Jiao's eyes when she heard the man wanted to attack Yunsu. I accompanied Yun Shen to the restroom, and I was waiting for her outside. This man came out of the men's restroom and saw me. Suddenly, he came over and touched me. I yelled, and Yun Shen came out, and then the two of them there was an argument, and he said a lot of unpleasant things, and wanted to attack Yun Shen, and then Yun Shen just broke his hand and pressed him into the sink. What's going on? Qin Jiao looked at the man on the ground who dared not say a word and asked. Which hand? Huh? The girl was stunned, and then she realized, this one. She refers to the man's right hand, which is still intact. Very good, Qin Jiao sneered, then there's no need to keep this hand. Qin Jiao's face turned cold. He directly raised his foot and stepped on the man's right hand hard. The hand-made hard-soled leather shoe crushed it, and the man screamed instantly. Ah! The man's scream came from the bathroom, and the guests passing by outside silently quickened their pace. Uncle, Sister Yun Qin Cheng, who was following him uneasily, opened the door and shouted. Lian Yu, who was following behind, opened his eyes wide. What is going on? Yun Su looked down at the man who kept screaming, and gently tugged on Qin Jiao's sleeve. Okay. Qin Jiao snorted coldly and moved his feet slowly. The back of the man's hand was red, swollen, and bleeding, and his fingers were connected to his heart. He was in so much pain that he couldn't even speak. What he saw outside were two little girls from the graduating class. How could they be so scary? Which king of has he provoked? The man complained in his heart, but he did not regret taking the medicine. What's going on? Qin Cheng frowned. Call the police. Qin Jiao flicked the non-existent dust on his body, drunk and causing trouble, deliberately hurting people, with bad intentions. Send him in and wait until he wakes up before he comes out. Qin Jiao used Lian Yu every time he said a word. Looking at the man with even more admiration, what level of warrior is this? He even dared to attack Sister Yun. He was really tired of living. Okay. Qin Cheng's eyes also turned cold. After saying these words, Qin Jiao turned his eyes and stared at Yun Su, whose face was flushed. His voice was so soft that it could drip water. Su, let's go. Yun Su slowly raised his eyes, looked at him, and stretched out a hand. Off guard, take me away. Looking at the white and tender hands in front of him, he could not imagine how powerful they were. Qin Jiao felt so soft-hearted and his eyes were full of doting. Okay, how could he refuse her request? Qin Jiao stretched out his hand, and his slender hand intertwined with hers. The big and small hands were intertwined in harmony. Qin Cheng couldn't bear to look at the smile on his uncle's face. Lian Yu's eyes were about to pop out when he looked at their interlocked hands. Qin Jiao, you solve it here. Qin Cheng said with a serious face, I understand. Qin Jiao left these words to Qin Cheng and led Yun Su away, whose steps were a little erratic. Brother Cheng, was I blind just now? Otherwise, how could I see my uncle holding Sister Yun's hand in that way? Lian Yu looked away and wiped his face in a daze. After drinking so much wine, now I'm fully awake. Isn't it obvious yet? Qin Cheng said lightly, stood aside, and called the police. Lian Yu stood in the same place, disheveled in the wind, with an expression doubtful about life. So the person Sister Yun said she liked before was Uncle Qin's uncle. This is too outrageous. Thinking of Sister Yun and Uncle Qin getting together as a couple, Lian Yu couldn't help but shudder. It would be scary enough for these two people to be separated alone. Now, Lian Yu simply didn't dare to think about it. Brother Cheng, what happened? Why is Yun Shen gone? A head poked through the door. It was Zhang Lun. When he saw that Yun Shen had left with the powerful man, and Qin Cheng and Lian Yu didn't come back, he realized that something was wrong. Several boys in the class had followed him. After making the call, Qin Cheng pointed to the man on the ground. Here, this man just harassed them. The girl, who had been silent for a long time and looked at Zhang Lun, who seemed to be stunned, met Zhang Lun's eyes and nodded aggrievedly. Squad leader, he bullied us. What? Zhang Lun was furious. How dare you bully the girls in our class? As long as he is still alive, he will be the monitor of his class, and no one can bully anyone in his class. Brothers, come on. As soon as he said these words, Several boys behind him immediately stepped forward. In an instant, there was a sound of punches and kicks that was painful to hear. Ah! Stop fighting! I really don't dare to fight anymore, the man's screams kept coming. Qin Chen estimated the time and calmly put the cleaning sign at the door again. Fifth Master, Miss Yun Qinju, who was waiting outside, opened the car door. Qin Jiao helped Yunsu get into the back seat of the car. Yunsu leaned on the comfortable back of the car, his head swaying as the car moved forward, and slowly fell on Qin Jiao's shoulder. Qinju was very discerning and had already raised the partition. He leaning on Qin Jiao's shoulder, she didn't get up. She directly held Qin Jiao's arm and laughed playfully. Qin Jiao's eyes were so gentle that they could almost drown people. He stretched out his hand and held her in his arms. He felt the little girl nuzzling into his arms again and found a comfortable position. Qin Jiao laughed softly. "Why are you so happy, Qin Jiao?" Who was thinking of scolding the little girl to stop drinking on the way here, had already forgotten about it. Yunsu wrinkled her pretty little nose and sniffed, "We both smell the same. She has been using the incense given to her by Qin Xiao." At this moment, the two people's breath blended together in her nasal cavity. They both had the same cedar smell, and she felt happy smelling it. Qin Xiao was startled, then calmed down and sniffed it carefully, then smiled and said, "It's still different." In addition to the smell of cedar, the little girl also has a faint sweet scent that cannot be ignored. It is a soft scent that is exclusive to the little girl. It is a scent that a cold and hard man like him will never have. How is that possible? Yunsu refused and grabbed Qin Jiao's clothes, buried his face in it, and sniffed deeply. Wearing thin summer clothes, Qin Jiao could even feel the little girl's breath hitting his chest through his uncle's shirt. His heart suffocated, his whole body was stiff, and his muscles were as tight as a stone. I don't know how long it took, maybe several minutes or just a moment. Qin Jiao used the greatest self-control in his life to pull out the little girl's head with one hand. "Stop being bored and sit still," he asked the little girl to lean on his shoulder again. His heart was beating like a drum, and his mind went blank as he listened to his own heartbeat. Fortunately, the little girl made no other moves during the rest of the journey. Qin Jiao exhaled a breath of turbid air. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 233. Chapter 233, The First Kiss. Fifth Master, we're here. Qinju stopped the car and whispered. "Susu, get off the car," Qin Jiao called softly, only to find that Yunsu had fallen asleep. He looked at the girl's soft hair, leaning against him like a kitten. Qin Jiao pushed her head away as gently as possible, removed his hand, picked her up horizontally after getting out of the car, and walked slowly upstairs. "Go and get a glass of honey water," Qin Jiao ordered Qinju behind him. "There is no ant here, so we can't make sobering soup, so we can only pour a cup of honey water for the little girl first." "Good." Qin Jiao walked upstairs and gently placed the little girl in his arms on the bed. Just as he was about to cover her with the quilt, he saw a pair of big, clear eyes. "Are you awake?" Qin Jiao touched her face and found that it was no longer hot. Yunsu pushed himself up and sat up. After sleeping for a while, the alcoholism had dissipated a lot. Fortunately, he didn't have a headache after drinking the fruit wine. Recalling the incident where she just hit someone in the hotel toilet, Yunsu's face twisted for a moment. She was really puzzled and asked Qin Xiao, "Why are you there every time I drink too much?" Yunsu was stunned. Qin Xiao always lived in the capital, and the house here could only be bought because of her. Z108. Yunsu obediently took the cup and drank the entire cup of honey water. "Ha ha 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 ha. When you finish your exam in the afternoon, Yunsu knew he was in the wrong, but he still defended himself. Who told you not to tell me in advance? When did you come? Qin Jiao suddenly tilted his head unnaturally, and Yunsu knew that she had guessed correctly, and she burst out laughing. Then why didn't you call me directly? Yunsu was puzzled. Seeing Qin Jiao stop talking and then fall silent, she narrowed her eyes and asked tentatively, "Are you afraid of my dad?" After finishing the drink, she noticed that the decoration in the room was not in a hotel. Where is this? Why do you throw it in front of him every time you are embarrassed? You little heartless one. Qin Jiao scratched her nose. I came here from the capital specifically, but it turned out to be a good thing for you. You didn't reply to messages, didn't answer calls, and you were so drunk. Yunsu was stunned. Z1 number 8? Isn't this the house that their family first looked at? When did you buy it? Qin Jiao felt a little helpless when he looked at her. He didn't expect that he would ever see someone so frightened in his life. I asked Qin Ju to buy it after you moved here. Fifth Master Qin Ju knocked on the door cautiously, holding water in his hand. Let it go. Is it that funny? Qin Jiao's face darkened. Afternoon, Yunsu recalled her strange feeling at that time. You weren't at the school gate at that time, were you? Of course it's funny. Yunsu laughed and fell on the bed. Okay. Qin Ju put down the water and went out with a wink. Here, drink some honey water, it will make you feel better. Qin Jiao pulled Yunsu up and said warmly. Qin Jiao, She was silent for a moment and then said, you don't have to go to this point. Qin Jiao knew what she was thinking at a glance. He rubbed her head and said, what are you thinking about? I really need a place to rest when I come to Lanchinj, but I just want to be closer to you. Besides, a house is nothing. Yunsu, who was originally moved, couldn't hold back after hearing the last sentence. She said expressionlessly, that's very well said. The last sentence is unnecessary. Qin Jiao laughed, as long as you want, all my things are yours. How can that be done? Yunsu curled her lips and said deliberately, at least until. She lengthened her voice. What are you waiting for? Sure enough, Qin Jiao's eyes lit up. I don't know. Yunsu rolled his eyes. Qin Jiao knew that she was teasing him on purpose, so he didn't ask any more questions. I can wait, no matter how long it takes. Qin Jiao said clearly every word. Under the long eyelashes, the deep eyes showed the affection that can drown people. Yunsu didn't expect him to say this. When she met his eyes, her heart suddenly skipped a beat. She looked away slightly uncomfortably. The alcohol that had just faded seemed to surge up again, and her face turned slightly red. Qin Jiao didn't drink, but he felt drunk at the moment. Looking at the touching blush on the girl's face, he lowered his head unconsciously. The wind outside the window blew gently and softly, bringing an unknown floral fragrance in the wind, which faintly refreshed her heart and spleen. The light smell of cedar hit her, and the man's breath enveloped her whole body. She seemed to expect that when it came to what would happen, his body trembled slightly. The next second, a soft and warm peace covered her slightly pursed lips. It was gentle and could not be refused, and she did not want to refuse. Yunsu could not help but relax her whole body. The man just pressed her lips against hers without making any next move. After a few seconds, the warm breath left, like a cheetah quietly leaving the soft wheat field. Yunsu looked at Qin Jiao blankly, with confusion in his eyes. His bright eyes were full of purity, and there was an amazing temptation in Qin Jiao's eyes. Don't look at me like that. Qin Jiao's voice was hoarse, and he didn't know how much self-control he had to use. He pulled her into his arms and rested his chin on her shoulder, preventing her from seeing his expression and the desire that almost burst out of his eyes. He was afraid that he would not be able to bear it. The two of them hugged each other quietly, speechless for a moment, and the atmosphere in the room was charming and beautiful. After a long time, Yunsu came out of his arms and looked at the time. It's getting late. I have to go back, otherwise my dad should rush me. Qin Xiao, who had not enjoyed the feeling of having the little girl in his arms for a long time, turned pale and felt a little aggrieved. Be good. Yunsu smiled and touched his head, which felt soft. Sure enough, no matter how cold a man's head is, his head will always be soft. She couldn't help but touch him again. Qin Xiao always felt that she was petting a dog. The world is big and the future father-in-law is the biggest. Qin Xiao has no choice but to send her back. Let's go, I will take you back. Yunsu nodded and got out of bed, but out of the corner of his eye he caught a glimpse of bright yellow. Wait, is that for me? There was a bouquet of flowers placed in the corner of the room that had just been blocked by Qin Xiao. It was a bouquet of brightly blooming sunflowers. It's already a little wilted. I'll give you another bunch tomorrow. Qin Xiao frowned and was dissatisfied. Why do you want to send it again? Isn't this nice? Yunsu held up the flowers, but the leaves were a little curled up, which did not affect its beauty. She sniffed it gently. The fragrance of sunflowers was very light, and you had to get close to smell it. Let's go. Yunsu walked in front and went downstairs. Even though it was in a villa area, there was still a long distance from Z1 number 8 to number 11. Qin Xiao did not drive, so the two of them walked back slowly. The moonlight shines brightly, and the street lights are also bright. There was no one on the road, and it was so quiet that both of them could hear each other's breathing. For the first time, Qin Xiao had some childish thoughts, hoping that this road could continue to extend. But the road always has an end. Although the two of them walked slower than the other tacitly, they still arrived not far from Yunsu's house after more than 20 minutes. Across the corner, dozens of meters away, Yunsu caught a glimpse of her worried old father standing at the door. She was so anxious that she pushed Qin Xiao directly. Qin Xiao was caught off guard and almost fell into the flowers nearby. You hurry up, my dad is at the door. Qin Xiao. Having lived for more than 20 years, for the first time, he felt guilty as a thief. Qin Xiao felt funny and helpless, so he had to agree, okay, I'll go. Yunsu took a deep breath and strode forward to the door of her house. Yun Daijin was wearing single clothes and frowning at her. He had obviously been standing at the door for a while. Dad, why are you waiting for me here? I'm going to a class reunion and nothing else. Don't worry about me. Yun Daijin frowned. Have you been drinking? He is a chef and is very sensitive to all kinds of smells. I drank a little, it was a party, we have graduated, I don't know when we will see each other again. Yun Daijin looked at her and nodded reluctantly, okay, I won't do it next time. How old are you and why do you drink? I know, Yunsu agreed. Well, please explain to me again, where did this bouquet of flowers come from? Yun Daijin pointed to her arms and asked. Yunsu froze, oh no. She even forgot about this bouquet of flowers. It's a gift from my classmates. It's a gift. Yunsu tried hard to find a reason, there are all girls in our class. Really? Yun Daijin still looked suspicious. Really, who else can give it to me? Yunsu asked. Yun Daijin thought about it again and again, but still felt something was wrong, but couldn't think of a reason, so he had to give up. Okay, come in and take a rest. You've been so tired from exams these past 2 days. Got it. Yunsu followed behind and breathed a sigh of relief. He quietly put his hands behind his back and made an okay gesture. Behind her, a smiling man watched her enter, then turned and left. I was scared to death just now. After returning to the room, Yunsu hurriedly sent a message to Qin Xiao. Uncle didn't say anything, did he? Qin Xiao was a little nervous. It's okay, I got over it. That's good. Qin Xiao looked at the news about the two of them and smiled. He actually had the same feeling of falling in love behind his parents back in school. Life is really wonderful. I'll pick you up tomorrow. Go out and play. Going out to play? Yunsu thought for a while and realized that it was time to relax recently. Good. After saying this, Yunsu felt a little worried and added, stand farther away from my house. Her father and Aunt Qing now have the habit of doing morning exercises. She is afraid that if a few people happen to bump into them, it will be over. Okay, Qin Jiao sighed and typed this word. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 234. Chapter 234, Riding on the Same Horse. Dad, I'm going out. Early in the morning, Yunsu left the room directly, picked up the milk on the table and drank it in several gulps, then took a piece of bread and said to her father. Go, play more, and be safe. Yoon Daejin smiled like an old father. He was naturally happy that his daughter rarely had time to relax and go out to play with her classmates. Yeah, Yunsu felt a little guilty. She had no choice but to lie like this. She silently said sorry to her father in her heart. Yunsu went out and walked forward for a while and finished eating the bread. As soon as she reached the corner, she saw the man waiting. Her eyes lit up and she felt a little strange. It's rare to see you wearing this kind of clothes. Qin Jiao today is different from the past. He is wearing casual clothes, white clothes and black trousers, like a young man who has just entered college. He has a youthful atmosphere that is so fresh that it can drip. Who can tell that this person is the legendary Qin Jiao? Fifth Master? Qin Ju stood behind, his mouth twitching unconsciously, as if he was holding back a smile. His fifth master got up early in the morning, tried on at least 10 sets of clothes, and finally chose this style. Just narrow the age gap between you and Miss Yun. Qin Jiao has been calm and self-possessed since he was a child. He is much more mature than his peers. He rarely wears this kind of clothes. He looks a little uncomfortable when looking at Yunsu. In order to cover up his unnaturalness, he quickly turned around and put the clothes on the back seat of the car. He took out the flowers and handed them to Yunsu. His brows were smiling, and his stern face softened. I said I would give you another bunch. Yunsu glanced at Qin Ju sympathetically and went to find flowers early in the morning. It was difficult to deal with a boss like Qin Jiao. Looking at the delicate and even dewy sunflowers, Yunsu was surprised. It was only 8 o'clock and the flower shop was not open. Where did he get the flowers? Qin Ju stood behind him, hiding his merit and fame. Yunsu didn't know what was going on in his heart, so he thought for a moment and said, let's go to the racecourse on the outskirts of the city. I haven't seen Xingtian for a long time. Miss Yun, you haven't been here for a long time. Xingtian misses you so much. Qin Jiao silently crossed out the breakfast item in his mind. Just like her previous MOU, after he recognized her as his master, he would never allow her to ride other wild horses. Moreover, the more spiritual a horse is, the better it can sense the scent of other similar horses on its owner. Yunsu believes that if she rides other horses, Xing Tianbao will be able to smell it. Qin Jiao even called Zhou Ye, and after a lot of ridicule, Zhou Ye sent him a folder, vowing that this was his secret book for picking up girls over the years, and it would definitely work. 3 days, Qin Jiao said calmly. Only Qin Ju, who was driving in the front seat, knew how much effort Wu Ye had spent to squeeze out these 3 days. Have eaten. If you like horses, I'll keep an eye on other good horses for you. Qin Jiao can ride horses, but is not keen on them, so he rarely pays attention to this circle. Yunsu shook her head and said, no, I can't even take care of this one. She only rode horses to relax, and besides, she didn't have that much time, so it would be nice to have a good horse of her own. Where do you want to go? How long can you stay? Yunsu knew how busy he was. Okay, Qin Jiao knew that she had a horse. Qin Jiao actually didn't want to ask this question. He wanted to arrange everything, but last night he and Qin Ju studied for a long time on how to arrange the first date with a girl. However, both of them were single. For people who have no experience in love, the two people who can confidently grasp a contract worth hundreds of millions look at each other, helpless. Qin Jiao nodded and gave up, not mentioning the matter again. After studying for several hours, he decided to give up. Susu was different from other girls. What other girls had tried might not work for her. In order to avoid her resentment, Qin Jiao could only ask her directly. "Let's go." Qin Jiao opened the door. When the two of them arrived at the racecourse, it was still early and there were not many people there. As soon as Yunsu walked in, the horse trainer she knew came up to her with a smile. "Had breakfast?" The horse trainer also smiled politely at the man next to Yunsu. Judging from the way the two of them walked side by side, they were obviously very close to Miss Yun. Although he didn't know his identity, he had seen many distinguished and wealthy people at this race course. Although this man was simply dressed, he was worth a lot, not to mention his shocking aura. Yunsu raised her beautiful eyebrows and asked, "Why do you think of me?" She didn't believe that Xin Tian could still speak. "Really, Miss Yun," the horse trainer said seriously, "just last time, when Xin Tian was watching TV, he saw you on the TV. He was so excited that he ate more than usual that day." Watching TV, Yunsu's expression was hard to explain. "Yes, we now have a TV set in the stable to create a good living atmosphere for the horses. As the saying goes, no matter how poor you are, you can't afford education. Even if you don't understand, you can still be educated by listening to sounds." Yunsu and Qin Jiao looked at each other and saw the speechlessness in each other's eyes. "You really treat horses like children." The horse trainer thought Yunsu was praising them, so he immediately puffed up his chest and said proudly, "This is what we should do." "Is this Junwei's idea?" "That's not our boss's idea." The horse trainer scratched his head. "A customer asked for it." "That's not bad." She thought Junwei's brain was damaged after the poison was detoxified. The horse trainer opened the door of Xingtian's stable and said, "Miss Yun, please." Xingtian, who was lying lazily, heard the sound and raised his eyes to see a familiar person. He immediately stood up and came to Yunsu's side and rubbed against her crazily. He exhaled from time to time to express her dissatisfaction that she had not seen him for a long time. Under the long eyelashes, the wet horse's eyes were full of accusations and grievances. Yunsu understood its emotions and touched its head with a smile. "Okay, aren't we here to see you?" The horse master's heart was filled with sourness. He knew that this was a white-eyed horse. He was the one who took care of it and fed it every day, but it didn't even look at him. When Miss Yun arrived, he couldn't stand its warmth, and its tail swung so much that he almost thought it was another species. Qin Jiao glanced at Yunsu's hand and the coquettish horse, and narrowed his eyes dangerously. This horse seemed to be a stallion, right? As if sensing a dangerous aura, Xin Tian moved a little bit, but Yunsu didn't notice it either. "Qin Jiao, how about I? Let me take you for a couple of laps." Xin Tian knows people better. Qin Jiao's words about taking Yunsu on horseback were cut off by Yunsu before he could say anything. Okay, although the two people seemed to have different priorities, the results were similar, and it was not impossible for Susu to take him to ride. Yunsu quickly got on his horse and said, "Come on, come up." The horse trainer was a little worried on the side. Although Xin Tian was very docile to Miss Yun, he might not be able to accept this gentleman riding with Miss Yun. But what he was worried about didn't happen. Xin Tian was so good that he let Qin Jiao get on the horse. Xin Tian, being threatened by two auras, can it not behave? Qin Jiao's posture when mounting the horse was very standard. His noble-like posture showed that he had been carefully taught. He sat behind Yunsu, felt the girl's breath, and quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was sitting in the back. "What are you thinking about?" Yunsu didn't look back, but seemed to know what Qin Jiao was thinking. "You don't think I want you to sit in the front, do you?" No, Qin Jiao certainly didn't admit it. Yunsu didn't expose him either. The main thing was that if she let Qin Jiao sit in the front, the two of them were a bit different in size. The scene of her holding Qin Jiao from the back while riding a horse was so beautiful that she didn't dare to look at it. Drive, Yunsu clamped the horse's belly and gently pulled the reins, and Xin Tian spread his hooves and started running. Since it was under Yunsu's name, Yunsu was away and no one else could get close to it. It never ran freely again. Occasionally, only the horse trainer took it for a walk. It was a rare galloping, and it was so fast that it almost disappeared in an instant. The horse trainer looked like he had gone through many changes. It was good. There was another person that Xin Tian could accept, but it was still not him. "Boss, Miss Yun is here." In the small building next to the racecourse, Jun Weie's assistant reported to him. Jun Weie smiled and said, "It's really rare. She hasn't been here for a long time. I feel bad for Xingtian's horse even there." The man next to him had his eyes flashing brightly. "Is Susu here?" Jun Weie turned to his assistant and asked, "Is she alone?" "No, there is another one," the assistant replied. That young master of the Lian family. Jun Weie's first reaction was Lian Yu. After all, he often followed Yunsu to join in the fun. "No, it's a new face." The assistant didn't know his identity and didn't dare to say anything. "You have a strange face." Jun Weie looked at the man. "Second young master Ling, would you like to go take a look?" The man was Ling Yu. "Okay." He looked out the window with a little urgency. The two of them walked towards the race course. Linju walked very steadily step by step, and Jun Weie no longer looked as weak as before. No one would have guessed that just over a year ago, one of these two people was judged not to live past the age of 25, and the other could only live in a wheelchair. As soon as they arrived at the racecourse, they saw Yunsu riding a horse from a distance. "Is that a man behind you?" Jun Weie's eyes widened with interest. Given Yunsu's character, he actually rides a horse with others, and he is also a man. Who is this man? As for Ling Yu, his face tensed up the moment he saw the two riding together. His hands hanging by his legs quietly tightened, and his eyes were complicated and dark that others couldn't understand. Jun Weie didn't notice anything strange about him, and looked at the two people on the horse with interest. Just as Yunsu finished running another lap, she saw two familiar people standing outside the field. She slowly tightened the reins and stopped in front of them. Qin Jiao quickly turned over and dismounted, and stretched out his hand. Yunsu naturally put her hand into his big palm, raised her legs, and dismounted gracefully. Jun Weie's eyes lit up when he saw this scene. He bet that the relationship between these two people is definitely not simple. Linju lowered his eyelids to hide the emotions in his eyes. Soon, he raised a warm smile as if nothing had happened. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, Beautiful. Chapter 235. Chapter 235, Heartbroken. Fifth brother, long time no see. He greeted Qin Jiao. Qin Jiao hadn't seen Ling Yu for a long time. Looking at his healthy legs, he was very happy. He rarely softened his voice and asked, "How do your legs feel now? Are you tired from walking? Your elder brother was talking to me about you 2 days ago. Go back and take a look sometime. It's good now. I've basically recovered. I'll go back when I have time." Ling Yu nodded. Jun Weie looked at Qin Jiao carefully. He didn't think twice about the person who could be called fifth brother by the second young master of the Ling family. It turned out to be the famous fifth master Qin. "I didn't expect that fifth master Qin looked like a college student. You came to my place. It's such a privilege to have such a small horse farm." Qin Jiao looked at the teasing expression on his face and raised the corners of his lips. "Hello, nephew." "You, what did you call me?" Jun Weie almost choked on his own saliva and his face turned green. "We have all come to Lanjinj, so we should come and see our nephew." Qin Jiao remained as still as a mountain. I only have senior sister, don't mistake me for anything. Junwei gritted his teeth. Qin Xiao, it's okay, I will call you the same way from now on. Ha 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 ha, Yunsu couldn't help but laugh. How could it be so easy to get a favor from Qin Xiao? Junwei glared at Qin Xiao fiercely, and Qin Xiao smiled back indifferently, which made him even angrier. Junwei said that Qin Xiao would reply from time to time, while Ling Yu beside him didn't know what he was thinking, and his eyes were staring at something blankly. Junwei was a little shocked. The fifth master Qin, who was said to be hard-hearted and cold-hearted, actually knew everything about his sister-in-law. It seemed that the relationship between the two was better than he thought. Yunsu turned to him and asked, "Why are you here?" Xingtian seemed to know that he was going back, so he rubbed his head against Yunsu dissatisfiedly. Yunsu looked at it and said with a smile, "No, I'll take it back." Linja trembled. Although he knew that fifth brother was joking, Susu did not deny what he said. "This is what Yunsu saw when he came back, what are you talking about?" The two of them had only met each other not long ago. They had only heard of each other before. Perhaps because they both had the same illness and were cured by Yunsu, they quickly became familiar with each other. "Do you still want to ride? You guys talk first." Yunsu led Xingtian back to the stable. "Junwei, that's not true. We have just met each other not long ago. We are fellow patients and we feel sympathy for each other." Yunsu, no, after running for so long, they were tired even if they were not tired of Xingtian. He also doesn't shy away from visiting the mausoleum. That's it. Currently in the hands of our Jun family. When talking about business, Junwei said to Qin Xiao seriously. "That's good, have you known each other before, why haven't you heard them mention it?" Junwei looked at Qin Xiao and said seriously, "Fifth master, I have a business I want to discuss with you. I wonder if you are interested." Qin Xiao replied obediently, "Jun wants to discuss cooperation with me. It's about." I understand everything. He remembered every word of hers clearly. The horse trainer stepped forward and said, "Miss Yun, give me the reins. I will lead Xingtian back to the stable." "Say it," Qin Xiao said calmly. For Susu's sake, he could listen. "You can ride a horse, but you still have to exercise in moderation," Yunsu warned. Linju looked at her intently. "Didn't you tell me to exercise more before? I'll come to the race course to take a look." Finally relaxing, Yunsu didn't want to talk about work and wasn't interested in their cooperation. "I'm hungry, do you want to go eat together?" "No." Junwei shook his head. He had just confirmed something with Qin Xiao, and he still had to go back to work. "I'm not going either." Ling Yu pointed in the direction of the stable, "I still have to pick up a horse." Junwei looked at him strangely. Didn't he make his choice before? He said nothing. Since they said it, Yunsu didn't force it. "Well, let's go now and meet again next time." Junwei, next time I have time to come to my house for dinner. My dad has been talking about you for a long time. Must. Yunsu and Qin Jiao left. Their backs were harmonious and beautiful. They looked so well matched that no one seemed to be able to get in. Linju watched, his mind was surging, and a kind of sadness surged up from the bottom of his heart, as if a big hole had been broken, and it hurt. "You." Junwei hesitated, seeing the emotion in his eyes that he had no time to recover, and realized something. He patted Ling Yu on the shoulder pretending to be casual. "If you like it, go for it. There is always a chance. She doesn't even know you are like this." "No need." Ling Yu's eyes drifted away and he only said these 4 words. If the fifth brother only liked her unilaterally, then he might still be able to compete with her, but he could see clearly that Susu also had the same feelings for the fifth brother. In this case, why would he make things difficult for her and only increase her troubles? Junwei sighed, a girl like Yunsu, how many men would not be attracted to her? Even, he himself was not unsettled by it at the beginning. But because of some magical manipulations by his master, the title of sister-in-law forced his heart to become as hard as iron, and his heartbeat was no longer there. Let's go and run around. Good. Qin Jiao asked Qin Ju to leave. Now he was driving. He turned the steering wheel and asked Yun Sudeo, "What do you want to eat?" Yun Su thought for a moment and said, "I want to eat at the barbecue restaurant I went to last time." Qin Jiao turned his head and smiled helplessly, "The barbecue restaurant hasn't opened yet at noon. How about going to eat in the evening? I just checked and there is a restaurant nearby that has good food. Do you want to try it?" "It's okay." Yun Su didn't choose. "It's really easy to raise." "What did you say?" His voice was too soft and Yun Su didn't hear it clearly. "It's nothing," Qin Jiao said with a smile in his eyes. The two of them had lunch and had no other plans. They simply bought tickets for a movie. The two of them entered the cinema. Qin Jiao looked around a little unnaturally. Seeing his look, Yun Su couldn't help but guess, "You've never been to a cinema, have you?" Qin Jiao nodded. No, due to his natural personality, he was not keen on these things, but because of Yun Su, he was willing to try anything he had never touched before. Yun Su didn't believe it. "Didn't you go there when you were studying?" "I have a video room at home." Yun Su, she was the one who offended. After getting the tickets, Yun Su looked at the place selling popcorn and said to Qin Jiao, "Wait for me." Since he was going to watch a movie, he had to have a complete set, and popcorn and Coke were essential. "Look, that boy over there is so handsome," two girls who were watching a movie said quietly to the side. "He is alone, do you want to go up?" Qin Jiao, who was standing in the lobby of the cinema waiting for Yun Su, was playing with his mobile phone. His casual attire softened his temperament. Unknowingly, many girls glanced at him from time to time. Qin Jiao frowned slightly when he felt many stares. Just as he was about to go to the corner and sit down, a young girl stood in front of her and blocked his way. Hello." The girl held the mobile phone, her face flushed with embarrassment, and hesitantly said, "Is it convenient to add a contact information?" Qin Jiao's eyebrows tightened, and a cold look appeared on his face. "It's inconvenient." The girl was so shy that she didn't expect to be rejected so directly. "I'm sorry." A soft arm wrapped around Qin Jiao's arm. He looked at the embarrassed girl in front of him and said with a smile, "Sorry, it's really not very convenient." Qin Jiao looked at Yun Su's slender white hands, his eyebrows relaxed, the coldness gone, like ice and snow melting. He was completely different from the cold and hard man just now. The girl immediately understood the relationship between the two. Although the girl opposite was wearing a mask, she could tell from her eyebrows that she was a very beautiful girl. She hurriedly apologized, I'm sorry for disturbing you." Looking at the beautiful couple, she added, "You are a perfect match. I wish you happiness." Hearing these words, Qin Jiao suddenly felt good and said in a rare warm voice, "Thank you." The girl hid her face and ran away. Yun Su looked at Qin Jiao and said amusedly, "Why are you so childish? How can the uncertain Qin Jiao be like the Qin Jiao who did not change his expression when Mount Taishan collapsed in front of him?" She told the truth. Qin Jiao looked serious and could not hide his pleasure. Okay, let's go in, it's about to start." "Bring me the stuff." Qin Jiao took the popcorn and Coke from her hand. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 236. Chapter 236, The Beloved Man I Met. Yun Su chose a movie at random. It was a foreign sci-fi disaster movie about an alien invasion. In the movie, the aliens were ugly and coveted Blue Star's resources to launch an invasion. The more she watched, the tighter her brows became. What a mess. She was speechless. Having truly experienced the interstellar era, she couldn't complain after watching these movies. She turned her head, wanting to take a sip of a drink to calm down, but saw Qin Jiao staring straight at her without watching the movie. "What are you looking at me doing?" Yunsu whispered. She picked up a piece of popcorn and handed it to his mouth. "Eat." Qin Jiao lowered his head and saw only the girl's round fingers in the dim light. He opened his mouth slightly and took the popcorn into his mouth. His moist lips inevitably touched Yunsu's fingers. She retracted her hand as if she was electrocuted and glared at him. "What are you doing?" Qin Jiao looked innocent and said, "Eat popcorn." He couldn't control a chuckle from his throat. Yunsu gave him a blank look and put the popcorn into his hand. "Take it yourself." Qin Jiao had a deep smile on his face and eyes. He held the popcorn bucket obediently, fearing that the little girl would become angry if he continued to tease her, so he stopped moving. One of them was not focused on the movie, and the other was full of complaints. The two of them watched the entire movie in agony. The boss looked at Yunsu, who had taken off her mask, and her eyes flashed. She was indeed the little girl he saw on TV before. He couldn't believe it at the time. Having opened the store for so many years, he has met countless people of all kinds. Last time, he felt that Xiao Qin and this girl were somewhat interesting. This time, he could tell that the two of them had broken through the window paper. "Eat quickly," he said warmly. "What a talented man and beautiful woman. Everyone likes to appreciate beautiful things." Seeing such a well-matched couple and a child he has watched grow up, the boss is also very happy. Qin Jiao drove, and the two of them went to the barbecue restaurant by the Ulan River that they had visited before. Between the Qin Jiao who could secretly follow his grandfather out to eat skewers and the unsmiling Qin Jiao now, no one knows what happened and what he has experienced. He has watched the news. This little girl is so outstanding. Qin Jiao was stunned for a moment, then realized what he was referring to, and replied very seriously, "I will." "Yunsu, let's go, let's go." Looking at the love on the little girl's face, Qin Jiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and any sadness he had in his heart was instantly wiped away. "Okay." The boss, who heard the voice, turned around and saw Qin Jiao, and was stunned for a moment. "It's Xiao Qin, you haven't been here for a long time." He almost didn't recognize it because of his unusual attire. When Qin Jiao was young, he often ate skewers here with his grandfather. The boss also watched him grow up. He didn't know who Qin Jiao was, so he still called him Little Qin. Yunsu put aside other thoughts in his mind and took a sip. "It still tastes the same." "Eat it while it's hot." Qin Jiao picked up a bunch and handed it to Yunsu, who was in a daze. The end credits of the movie slid, the lights came on, and the two of them were relieved. "Boss, I want 20 skewers of mutton skewers, 20 skewers of mutton tendons, and some more." "That's good." The boss looked pleased and continued to work. Yunsu looked towards the river and was surprised. "Why is there someone setting off river lanterns today?" Yunsu's hand paused while eating. Qin Jiao is the youngest child in the family. He always comes of age. It is conceivable that his grandparents were already very old when he was born. Although he doesn't know why he was a child. He has stayed in Lanchange for so long, but I think that time must have been a very happy time for him. What do those people next to me who praised the film think? After a while, the kebabs were served. The boss brought the plate up. After putting it down, he patted Qin Jiao on the shoulder and said seriously, "Xiao Qin, cherish it. It's okay, I will still love you in the future. My grandma didn't like me to eat these when I was a child. She always felt that the taste at home was the healthiest. My grandpa would secretly bring me to eat it every time." A look of nostalgia appeared on Qin Jiao's face. "The last time I came here happened to be when the river lanterns were put out, so it was not surprising, but now there are so many people in June, and most of them are young people. Have you forgotten what these days are?" "What day?" Yunsu looked confused. It was just the day after the college entrance examination, Qin Jiao said with a smile. She is obviously a very smart girl, but sometimes she is confused. So many young people should be looking for good grades. Lanchinj put out river lanterns in addition to commemorating relatives. There is also a beautiful meaning, which is to pray. Yunsu suddenly understood, and then said enthusiastically, let's go and put one in later. Qin Jiao hesitated. Do you still need to pray? With the results of the little girl, what kind of river lanterns do you need to pray for? Of course it's not for grades. Yunsu raised her chin. She still had this confidence. You don't want to? She suddenly came closer, less than 10 centimeters away from Qin Jiao, and Qin Jiao's heart skipped a beat. What are you thinking about? Don't you want to pray for me, and you? Yunsu smiled, like a cunning little fox. Then I think it's still necessary to let it go, Qin Jiao said seriously. I wonder if putting a few more would have a better effect? Qin Jiao, who has been a staunch materialist for more than 20 years, is thinking about this problem in his heart. Qin Jiao, who was thinking about this, had no intention of eating. He had been lost in thought. Yunsu, who looked at him impatiently, ate everything slowly. Boss, the money is on the table. Qin Jiao casually put some money on the table, took Yunsu's hand and left. Hey, there's a lot more. The boss took one look and shouted. There's no need to look for it. Qin Jiao's voice was scattered in the wind. Looking at the two people leaving, the boss smiled. It's great to be young. The two came to the Duolan River. There were many stalls selling river lanterns. Today's river lanterns are very exquisitely made and come in a variety of designs. They have different stickers printed on them. If you want a child, choose the one with a boy on it. If you want a child, ask for results. For Qian Cheng, choose the one with Wenkuxing printed on it. This is the best-selling style in the past 2 days. The ant selling river lanterns took a look at this outstanding-looking man and woman. She was a little unsure about what they wanted, but judging from their looks, it was definitely true that they had a good relationship. Handsome guys, beauties, look at these two river lanterns, how beautiful they are. This one is actually divided into east and west. Yunsu pointed at the two river lanterns and was overjoyed. One of the two river lanterns has Cupid printed on it, and the other has Yu Lao printed on it. Good guy, this thing really takes care of its audience. Take this one. Qin Jiao pointed to the river lantern with Yu Lao's image on it. Hello, handsome guy, let me tell you, the people selling river lanterns by the Ulan River are the most effective ones in my family. The ant looked mysterious. Yo, why is this? Yunsu became a little interested. The river lanterns in our house have been influenced by the incense in front of the Buddha. The ant looked proud. These were all taken to Sining Temple. Of course, the price will be a little more expensive. Auntie said her true intention. Yunsu, Qin Jiao. They don't care about the little money, but... Is this one also taken to Sining Temple? Yunsu pointed to the river lantern with Cupid printed on it. Sining Temple is still in charge of the West. Auntie's face stiffened. She was careless. Why did she forget this? Fortunately, after the two left, they happily paid for the river lantern. Wait a minute, take this one too. Qin Jiao pointed to the river lantern with the Wenku star printed on it. Since everyone is here, let's let them go together. Auntie's eyes moved to Yunsu's face, and she said that this girl looked tender, and she was still a student. Then she looked at Qin Jiao, who was obviously several years older than Yunsu, with a look on his face that was hesitant to speak. Then she said to Yunsu seriously, little girl, it is good to put river lanterns, but you must also ask for a good man. Ah! Ha 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 ha. Yunsu looked at Qin Jiao, who looked stiff, and laughed loudly. Thank you, I will definitely do it. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 237. Chapter 237 College Entrance Examination Results. Is it really that funny? Qin Jiao was helpless, and the corners of her mouth that had been raised had never dropped since the beginning. Yes, Yunsu was happy thinking about Auntie's expression. Do you think Auntie thinks I'm the kind of bad girl you abducted? Qin Jiao looked at her with his gloomy eyes and suddenly smiled. It was obviously me who fell into your hands, okay. Yunsu's face suddenly turned red. What's wrong with me? Come on, can you put down the river lantern? She quickened her pace and walked forward. Qin Jiao chuckled and followed her footsteps. They found a place with few people, turned on the river lantern, and lit the candle wick in the middle. In an instant, the river lanterns reflected red by the candlelight spread out like lotus flowers. Yunsu and Qin Jiao slowly put the river lantern into the water one by one. The river lantern swayed and slowly floated in the direction of the water. The two of them were silent in tacit understanding and did not speak out their current wishes. On the Yulon River, countless twinkling river lanterns float along the water with everyone's prayers and blessings, as gorgeous as sparks of fire. Qin Jiao stared at the river lantern that he put down with his own hands, with a hint of hope in his eyes. If there is a in this world, please bless the little girl next to him to be safe and happy. If possible, let him accompany her all the way. In the next 2 days, Qin Jiao had a great time with Yunsu. 2 days later, Qin Jiao was going to return to Beijing. Qin Jiao hugged her hard and said in a hoarse voice, "Okay, I'll wait for you." Back to Yuncheng, Yunsu faced a look of resentment. In a few months, she will go to the capital to attend university. Although her results have not yet come out, it is already a certainty. Qin Jiao turned around and left. He never looked back. He was afraid that he would not be able to leave if he turned around. Sulin, who saw through things without telling them, smiled meaningfully. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Yunsu glared at him, not feeling guilty at all. She had no definite relationship with Qin Jiao in the first place, although, she didn't know it clearly. In this case, you are also responsible for the debugging of the holographic helmet. After saying that, she turned and left. Go. Yunsu patted him on the shoulder and let him go. "Master? When did you find a master for me?" Baya howled. It didn't make sense that everyone was a programmer and single, but she quietly got out of singlehood. "No," Baya said anxiously, "Master, you can't get angry if I say it right, can you?" Yunsu was silent. Didn't she just send a photo of a river lantern? As if he knew what she was thinking, Baya clasped his fists with a proud look on his face. "Although that photo looks normal on the surface, the fact that you would place a river lantern is abnormal in itself. Moreover, the river in the lower left corner of the photo reflects there is a hand, and that hand is a man's hand. Who did you go to put the river lantern with?" What's wrong?" Yunsu asked Sulin next to him in a low voice. She smiled sinisterly and said, "It seems you still have a lot of free time." She also took the time to study the photos in her circle of friends. "Yunsu, if you are a programmer, it would be a pity not to be a detective." "Humph, you dare to say you don't have it," Baya snorted coldly. "The moments you posted the day before yesterday are clear." Sulin coughed lightly and suppressed a smile. "You haven't been here for the past few days, and everyone has been busy doing the final debugging." Naturally, he felt unbalanced. Lan Chi slapped him with an expressionless expression. "Just do it." It was also the right thing for him to say to Baya. When had he ever asked Susu for help? "I have to sell that sword." At the airport, Qin Jiao looked at Yunsu with longing eyes. He had already started to miss her before she left. Yunsu looked away. After playing for so many days, it was time to get down to business. Yunsu's heart was moved by his gaze, and she opened her hands and threw herself into his arms. The man's clean and refreshing smell lingered around her. She whispered in his ear, "Soon, I will be coming to the capital soon." The days are passing by, and the time for the college entrance examination results is approaching day by day. Countless students taking the college entrance examination are on tenterhooks, looking forward to and fearing the arrival of that day. Not only them, but also a lot of netizens who are watching the excitement are also paying attention. The top scholar in arts and sciences in each province is naturally the focus of everyone's attention. At 10 o'clock in the evening on June 23, it is the time when the college entrance examination results inquiry channel opens, but before that, many colleges and universities have caught wind of the situation and learned about the top liberal arts and science candidates in each province and the high-scoring candidates through various channels. The annual competition The Human War is about to begin. As for Yunsu, no matter what her grades are, she is already the target of many colleges and universities. Beijing, Huaqing University, Professor Wang was pacing in his office when a man hurried in. Finally arrived, Professor Wang immediately asked, "How is it? How are the results?" The man took a deep breath and was speechless. He only had time to give a thumbs up. Professor Wang's eyes lit up. "What is this?" "It's confirmed, the top scorer in science in Province S is Yunsu." "Great," Professor Wang hammered his palm excitedly, "I knew this kid could do it." "What about the scores, what's the total score?" he asked again. The man took out his mobile phone and said, "Here, there's no need to remember it." "Her grades." Professor Wang's eyes were fixed on the screen of his mobile phone. He could no longer hear what the man said in his ears. His pupils were dilated. "This result. Go to Lanchinj immediately." After a long time, Professor Wang slapped the table and made a decision immediately. Even though Yunsu had said openly or secretly that he was interested in Huaqing, he couldn't let go as long as he didn't see her fill out her application with his own eyes. Who can stand still with this result? Professor Wang sighed, filled with admiration. At Beijing University, Sun Yu, the director of the admissions office who also received the news, stood up and said to other admissions teachers, "Let's go to Lanchinj. You have to try again, otherwise." Sun Yu felt that he couldn't sleep, thinking that he would regret it more and more, so he might as well give it another try. What if? In addition to Beijing University and Huaqing University, a large number of people from other top universities are also rushing to Lanchinj. At 9:30 in the evening, Yunsu looked at the large group of people at home helplessly. "Excuse me, I'm checking the college entrance examination results. Why are you here to join in the fun?" Lian Yu, Qin Cheng, Yao Shuij, Shenjinzu, Qing Yu, and even Li Yan, who had not been seen for a long time, all came. It was rare for them to gather in such a large crowd, and they filled the whole room, making the originally spacious living room seem small. "What do you mean by joining in the fun? Everyone cares about you." Yoon Daejin came out with the fruit and glared at Yunsu angrily. "You are more concerned about yourself than you are. Come on, let's eat the fruit first, and uncle will make you some snacks night." He didn't even want to say it. If he hadn't called her back from the company, she might not have remembered that today was the day to check her results. "Why are you so concerned about such a big matter?" "That's right, we care about you." Sister Yoon Lian Yu took the fruit with a smile, his mouth was sweet. "Thank you, uncle, for your hard work." "Thank you." Yunsu rolled his eyes at Lian Yu and slumped down on the sofa, his mind having been working at full load for several days. "Yao Shuij, Susu, the results will be checked soon. Are you really not nervous?" She, an outsider, is extremely nervous. She can't imagine whether she will be so nervous that she will suffocate when she checks her grades next year. "Don't be nervous." Yunsu was so paralyzed that he had no soul. "What on earth are you here for?" Yao Shuij confessed, "I'm just curious." "Lian Yu, come and feel the achievements of the god of study, face the impact directly, and push yourself." "Yunsu, speak in human language." "Lian Yu, okay, I just want to know if you can win the top prize. I must get the first-hand news." Yunsu felt bad. "You won't bet on me again, right?" Lian Yu looked away. How is that possible? We are not that kind of people. He would not say that they had been betting on breakfast for a whole semester. It's best. Yunsu knew there was something fishy by looking at his expression, but she didn't want to argue with him. She was really tired these days, and she had made up for the workload during the days of fun. What about you? Are you the same as him? Yunsu looked at Shenjinzu and Li Yan. Shenjinzu pursed her lips and smiled. I'm really here to feel the difference. You know my goal, of course. She also made a little bet, which she definitely couldn't let Susu know. He. Li Yan, I just happened to finish the project, and then Au called me, so I came. And, Li Yan shifted his gaze and looked at Yoon Daejin, who was busy in the kitchen. His eyes were full of longing. He ate in the cafeteria with the teacher every day. He really missed Uncle Yun's craftsmanship. They were a little embarrassed, but everyone was still very concerned about Yunsu's results. They knew that if Yunsu didn't win the provincial champion, there would definitely be a lot of negative attacks. You can think with your feet what those people would say. The Fields Medal winner missed out on being the #1 pick. Does he live up to his name? On how the of learning fell from the altar. Hold these words, although they are outrageous, they know that some people will say more outrageous things. It is difficult to get to the top, but the fall is only a momentary thing. Lian Yu was curious. Sister Yun, do you have an estimate? Yes, Yunsu said lazily. Yao Shuij, how many? Yunsu thought for a while, then hesitantly said a number. To be conservative, let's say 750 plus. Everyone was silent. 750 plus, is this called conservative? So what is boldness? Lian Yu wanted to shake her to make Yunsu wake up. Sister Yun, wake up, this result is a bit outrageous. In all the years of college entrance examination, it seems that there has never been a score of more than 750, unless the extra points for independent enrollment candidates are added. It will be out soon, just wait and see. Yunsu didn't care about the results at all, and was even a little sleepy. Time passed little by little, and soon, 10 o'clock was coming. Yoon Daejin turned down the fire on the stove, and everyone gathered in the living room. Under the spotlight, Yunsu turned on the computer and entered his ID number and admission ticket. Number. Everyone held their breath and did not dare to breathe out. Everyone looked more nervous than Yunsu. When I hit enter, the buffer circle turns and turns, and everyone's hearts turn. There are too many people queuing at the moment, please try again later. Everyone. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 238. Chapter 238, Top Scholar in Science. How about we wait a little longer, Yunsu said hesitantly. Damn. What kind of net is this? Lian Yu was so anxious that he almost cursed. Isn't this appetizing? Everyone who is connected to Wi-Fi has turned off Wi-Fi. Don't grab the internet, he greeted quickly. If you want to tell me, it has been closed a long time ago. Yao Shuij was speechless. There are too many people now, so please be patient and wait for a while. The waiting time is always long. 5 minutes later, Yunsu, who still had not logged in, spread his hands and smashed them. Everyone was a little discouraged after the rapid progress, then failure, and then exhaustion. At this moment, Yunsu's cell phone rang. Principal, the call was from the principal of #1 middle school. Headmaster. Why would the principal call at this time, unless? Everyone quickly moved closer to hear what the principal said, and Yunsu pressed the speaker phone directly. Classmate Yunsu, great news, came the beaming voice of the principal. There's a call from the Municipal Education Bureau, saying that this year's science champion in our province is you. Congratulations. When he received the call from the Education Bureau, he was so happy that he knew Yunsu would not let him down. People still need to have some goals and role models. Obviously, Yunsu is a huge monument erected in front of them. Facing the expectant eyes, Yunsu nodded, okay. Chinese, 149 points. As soon as the phone was put down, Lian Yu and Yao Shuij, a tenor and a soprano, started screaming wildly. Everyone was immersed in joy, and no one cared about the pain in their ears. Thank you, Principal Yunsu's tone was calm, and there was no hint of excitement. The people around him covered their mouths and could hardly control their screams. Others were speechless as if their throats had been strangled, and the room was eerily silent. Yunsu looked at the bright results on the screen, but was still a little dissatisfied. He said with a hint of regret, "It's just 1 point short. It's a pity." Provincial ranking, 1. Yoon Daejin was in a daze, 749 points, 749 points. He kept repeating this number. The full score was 750. Their Susu got 749? Everyone. Kingyu hugged Yunsu and said, "Susu is so amazing. Is this result real?" Yao Shuich's eyes were dull, feeling like he was in a dream. "Xiaozu, pinch me." Qin Cheng's eyes flashed and he said softly, "I will definitely do it." Chemistry, 100 points. It's out, it's out." Yunsu quickly changed the subject and pointed at the computer screen. Trouble meeting her father's eyes, Yunsu shrank her neck. "Ah! The pain is real," Yao Shuich squatted down and cried, hugging his head. "With this result, I will never go out and say that Susu and I are friends." Hearing this, Shenjinzu reached out and grabbed her dumbly. Mathematics, 150 points. Shenjinzu is full of confidence. "Susu is so good, we will definitely have good news next year." "Principal, what is our Susu's total score? We can't get in where the results are checked," Yoon Daejin asked quickly, with a look of joy that couldn't be concealed on his face. "So you can go in, but you just don't want to move, right?" Everyone looked at her speechlessly. "Do you know what you are talking about?" Lian Yu's eyes turned red, and he gritted his teeth and said, 749 points? You say it's a pity? What's a pity? A perfect score for courage is your standard. Why didn't you do this just now, before the results came out?" Yoon Daejin gritted his teeth and glared at Yunsu. Physics, 100 points. Yunsu's college entrance examination results were clearly displayed on the screen. "Susu, you are so awesome, I knew it, I knew it." "Let me see." Lian Yu stretched his neck, "Sister Yun, you are not a human being." Lian Yu couldn't believe what he saw, and his voice was so distorted that it broke. "We're still early. Now I just want to know what score Sister Yun got." Lian Yu touched his chin curiously. Okay, Yoon Daejin nodded, regardless of whether he could see it or not. "Ah! Sister Yun, you are awesome. Win. Lian Yu was overjoyed for a moment and shouted out what was in his heart. When he came into contact with Yunsu's cool eyes, he immediately fell silent and looked at the sky. He looked out the window but didn't dare to look at her. "Yunsu, really want to know?" English, 150 points. What's the meaning? Before a few people could react, Yunsu was already crackling on the computer. After some dizzying operations, she entered the score inquiry channel unimpeded. Total score, the principal was stunned. "Oh, why did I forget this? The Education Bureau didn't mention the total score." "Wait until I ask, and you can check again." Total score, 749 points. Biology, 100 points. She was afraid of embarrassing Susu, woo. There were faint tears in King Lian's eyes. Her eye sockets were shallow and she could easily lose control when she was excited. Yoon Daejin handed her a piece of paper. After a long time, someone spoke in a hoarse voice. Everyone nodded wildly. "It is indeed Yoon Shen," Li Yan smiled, his eyes full of admiration. Shenjinzu looked at her expressionlessly. If you say one more thing, I'm afraid I won't be able to help but take action. She is still not satisfied with this result. Is there any reason left? Qingyu, me too. She was even thinking that it was a good thing she was not in the same class as Susu, otherwise she might die of inferiority complex. Even though Li Yan had a short temper, he couldn't help but glare at her when he heard her words. There has never been such a terrifying result in the college entrance examination for so many years. Moreover, it is impossible to get a full score in a subject such as Chinese. In a sense, deducting 1 point is already a full score. Yunsu, who had offended everyone with one sentence, did not dare to speak any more in the face of everyone's red eyes. I'm going to take a look at my soup. Yun Daijin finally remembered the soup on the stove. He walked into the kitchen blankly. He wanted to calm down. Qinglian looked worried at his appearance, fearing that he would burn her hands, so she followed him into the kitchen. The phone rang again, and it was the principal calling. His voice was trembling. Yunsu, your grades. Principal, I've found it. Have you found it? Oh well, that's good. The principal couldn't help but asked, is it 749? That's right. He still couldn't believe it when he heard Yunsu's results just now. He calmed down for 10 minutes before calling back, wanting to confirm with her again. If the above is correct, it is 749. 749, 749, ha 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 ha. A burst of laughter burst out from the other end of the phone. Our number one provincial champion, 749. Ha 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 ha. Everyone looked at each other and realized that the principal was also crazy. Yunsu hung up the phone silently and let the principal calm down for a while. How about we eat first? Yunsu suggested. Okay, let's eat. A large group of people were sitting around a table, and everyone was picking up food mechanically. No one spoke. Everyone was still digesting the matter and had not recovered. Yunsu was the only one who enjoyed the meal. Now that the results have come out, the top scorers in arts and sciences in each province have also been revealed. Naturally, the competition for top picks in science in Province S is what the majority of netizens are most concerned about. Very good, as expected, this fan is satisfied. As expected, what a ghost. Is this score TM blind or the editor posted it randomly? Have you verified it? A screenshot of the results is here, thank you. This netizen attached a screenshot, which turned out to be a screenshot of Yunsu's college entrance examination results. Because there were many fans on her Weibo who were concerned about her results, Yunsu directly took the screenshot and posted it on Weibo. Is she really not an evolved superhuman? Or was it secretly cultivated in a laboratory? Warning, be careful what you say upstairs. 749 points, my mother. If I were asked to take the exam in 80 years, I might not be able to pass it. Remove the possibility. Who said before that it was unlikely that she would win the number one prize in the province? She would be beaten if she came out? No, I'll get out and get beaten by myself. My face is already very painful. I am a college entrance examination student here this year. My family was quite satisfied with my results at first, but after seeing Yunchen's results, I was dissatisfied again. Please. What on earth do my parents think, comparing me, a mortal, to such a god? I went to check it out and found that my sister was not only the top scorer in Province S, but also had the highest score in the country. Although the test papers in many provinces are different, this is still a huge gap. I have no doubt that the teacher who judged the Yunchen Chinese paper really wanted to give it full marks. It's not impossible, but it's a pity that the marking standards don't allow it. It's outrageous that I, a person with a score of over 500 in the college entrance examination, am actually feeling sorry for Yunchen that she didn't get full marks, and I don't know what kind of heart I have. I felt sorry for her when I passed the 400 mark in the college entrance examination, ha 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 ha. The discussion on the internet instantly made the entry about her winning the #1 scholar reach the top of the hot search list. Under her brilliance, the other provincial #1 scholars have all eclipsed. Yunsu returned to school after receiving the news from the principal. The reporter, who had been waiting for a long time, was filled with excitement. He was a reporter from Lanchinj TV station, and this was the first time he saw Yunsu in person. He did not expect that this little girl would be better in person than on TV. Still beautiful. Which window did God close for her? The reporter couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Principal, come on, Yunsu, this is reporter's son, who is here to interview you. From last night to now, the smile on his face has not dropped, and his face is almost frozen. Yunsu nodded. Hello. Reporter's son, hello, classmate Yun, let's sit and chat. Xiao Wang, get ready to turn on the phone. He used the honorific unconsciously. Knowing that this interview was inevitable, Yunsu had no intention of resisting and sat down calmly. Reporter's son looked at the girl in the camera. Her eyes were picturesque and her smile was like a flower. She was very photogenic. He nodded with satisfaction and said with a smile, Student Yunsu, first of all, congratulations on winning the top prize in science in our province this year. Can you tell me how you feel now? Yunsu pondered for a moment. Thank you. I was also very happy when I found out my score. This score is not only the result of me, but also the teaching of the outstanding teachers in our school. The school also gave me a lot of support and encouragement. As Yunsu spoke, the smile on the principal's face became deeper and deeper. This kid is really good at talking, and he is so smart even without him asking for advice. Reporter's son, can you tell us about your usual study methods? Yunsu, my learning method may not be suitable for other people. Finding your own learning method is the most important thing. However, I have some study notes that I can send out for everyone's reference. Reporter's son's eyes lit up. She knew how many people would pay attention to her study notes if she posted them. Don't worry about the number of broadcasts of this news. Of course, Yunsu has always been a very hot topic. Then I would like to thank you first for all the students. Yunsu pursed her lips and smiled. You are serious, this is what I should do. The two had a very pleasant exchange back and forth. Only the principal on the side was a little confused. As far as he knew, Yunsu never seemed to take notes in class. She even spent very little time at school. Of course, in this case, it was impossible for him to question it. As the interview progressed, reporter son's impression of Yunsu became better and better. Who wouldn't like such a smart and humble child? Then we'll stop here today, Susu, thank you for accepting our interview. Reporter's son turned off the microphone with satisfaction and changed his name to Yunsu. You're welcome. Yunsu shook hands with him in a friendly manner, and the interview ended. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 239. Chapter 239, Fill in Walking. That night, the provincial TV evening news broadcast an interview video with the province's top scholar in arts and sciences. Yunsu's interview has attracted many parents to praise her and ask their children to follow her as a role model. Many people feel a strange feeling in their hearts when they see Yunsu's serious look, and they are not used to it. Thinking about Yunsu's previous sand sculpture interview videos, many people joke that this should be her most normal interview video. Of course, more students, especially high school students, are grateful for Yunsu's willingness to share study notes. Quick, 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 go and save it. A parent saw the news and quickly asked his child to save her study notes on Yunsu's Weibo. It's there, it's there. The child's movements are also very fast. This scene happens in thousands of households invariably. but when it was the turn of the provincial liberal arts champion to be interviewed, the style of his painting suddenly changed. The provincial liberal arts champion was a boy from a nearby city named Siawenchu. Unlike Yunsu, who was calm and collected, his face was full of joy and he was visibly happy. Reporter: Student Siawenchu, how did you feel when you learned that you were the provincial liberal arts champion? Siawenchu: nature is extremely happy and full of joy. Reporter: happy, he didn't understand. Why does it have anything to do with her? The reporter forced a smile and said, what does this have to do with classmate Yun? Do you want to go to the same university as her? At this time, the audience in front of the TV also thought so. Ha 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 ha. I really can't stop laughing. Is this really an interview with the number one pick? Isn't it some comedian's sandbox video? Siawenchu couldn't hide the joy on his face. If I had chosen science, I wouldn't be standing here talking now. The audience was laughing so hard that they cried. Siawenchu's weird interview quickly became popular on the internet, even more popular than Yunsu's interview video. The audience had already begun to laugh, and they could see a trace of the aftermath of the disaster in Siawenchu's joyful expression. Reporter: how is that possible? Siawenchu looked at her strangely. Of course I avoid her. If she chooses Peking University, I will choose Hwaking University. If she chooses Hwaking University, I will choose Peking University. Then, without waiting for reporters to ask questions, Siawenchu sincerely thanked Yunsu in front of thousands of viewers. The person I am most grateful to is Yunsu. Thank you to her for choosing science at the beginning, and thank you to the boss for letting me live. That's right, I'm still waiting. Siawenchu looked serious. I'm waiting for student Yun's choice. Oh, why is this? The reporter was shocked and his style finally became normal. Did anything happen during the exam? For example, did you find an error during the examination? To be honest, many universities have approached me, but I haven't made a choice yet. I believe that as long as I don't confront her, she can't crush me. Siawenchu looked proud, obviously feeling that his decision was very wise. How should she answer this? The reporter almost wanted to drop the microphone. What happened to the current number one pick? Can't you just share your learning methods and say some encouraging words like chicken soup? What is this? She has so much to say. The audience laughed more and more wildly. The screen shook quickly. It was obvious that the cameraman couldn't hold back his laughter during the interview. Siawenchu: no, I am glad that I chose liberal arts. Do you have a favorite university? It can be seen that the reporter is desperately trying to get back to the topic that has gone astray. Reporter: huh. When the news is shown in the evening, our whole building is filled with laughter. I would like to call him the most ridiculous number one scholar in history. I am so happy that I am the source of happiness today. Watching my sister's interview video, I was about to say that I was finally normal for once, but I said it was too early because I was waiting here. Why are all interviews related to her so funny? The reporter encountered a Waterloo in the interview, and I really couldn't hold back the expression on my face. Reporter: I'm really impressed by you. Well, he poked my smile right away. I really laugh at this joke upstairs. So, am I the only one who cares about which school Yunshen chooses? Manual at Asusu 2121, Yunshen, which school do you choose? There is still someone waiting here. A large number of people were following Yunsu, and at this moment, Yunsu was also facing a choice. Looking at the two people on the left and right, Director Sun Yu from Peking University and Professor Wang from Hwaking University, Yunsu had a headache. When she came home from the interview at school, she was blocked by the two of them. Ziwan's management was strict and they couldn't get in, so they squatted at the door, one on the left and the other on the right, not letting anyone in. Just when their eyes were sore, Yunsu finally came back. The current situation is that the two of them have finished explaining the conditions given by their schools and are waiting for Yunsu's choice. The more she hesitated, the more anxious the two of them became. Sun Yu turned his head and focused his gaze on Yoon Daejin where the old was. Brother Yoon, would you like to help Mr. Yoon come up with an idea? We at Peking University have given us the best conditions, even if we allow Mr. Yoon to graduate directly to professor after completing his bachelor's, master's and doctoral studies within 1 or 2 years. In fact, it is not an exaggeration for a Fields Medal winner from Yunsu to work as a professor in any university in the world, but the process still has to go through. We at Hwaking can do it too, Professor Wang said quickly, not to be outdone. How can that be done? Yoon Daejin smiled honestly, the children still have to make their own decisions. He didn't understand that, but he knew that Yunsu must have his own ideas in his heart. Yunsu did have the answer in her heart, but she was embarrassed and didn't know how to speak. After all, she had traveled thousands of miles to come here. Wouldn't it be bad to refuse too bluntly? Sun Yu, who had been observing Yunsu's facial expressions, secretly complained, and his heart sank. He sighed and said directly, classmate Yunsu, if you have a choice, just say it. There is no need to be embarrassed. What he said could be regarded as giving Yunsu a step down. She nodded, I do have a choice. Yes, Sun Yu asked with the last glimmer of hope. Professor Wang also held his breath waiting for her final answer. I choose Hwaking, sorry, Director Sunday Yunsu apologized. It doesn't matter, we respect your choice Sun Yukiang replied. But if you change your mind in the future, we at Beijing University will welcome you at any time. Professor Wang, who was originally overjoyed, glared at him viciously when he heard this. Even now, he did not forget to add another sentence. Sun Yu left with full of disappointment. Well, Xiao Su, let's sign the agreement. In order to avoid a long night, Professor Wang said quickly, and the teaching assistant immediately took out the agreement and put it on the table. Yunsu said cheerfully, okay. While she was writing the information on the agreement, Professor Wang asked, what major are you going to major in? Computer major. Yunsu gave an answer that Professor Wang did not expect. Professor Wang was shocked. He had always thought that Yunsu would choose a major such as mathematics or physics. Can I ask the reason? Well, it has something to do with career planning, Yunsu replied with a smile. She was right. Isn't Yunchinj connected to computers? Maybe I will study a double major, Yunsu added, but she hasn't thought about it yet. That's good, Professor Wang breathed a sigh of relief. Although Hwaking's computer major was world-leading, because of Yunsu's talent in mathematics, he privately felt that she should choose mathematics. Yunsu signed the agreement, and the stone in Professor Wang's heart finally fell to the ground. In this year's competition for students, no matter how many students other schools grabbed, Yunsu chose Hwaching, and Hwaching was the biggest winner. Okay, Xiao Su, see you in Hwaking in September. Professor Wang said goodbye. See you in Hwaching. Yoon Daejin and Qing Lian sent the people out, and it was only then that they finally settled down. A few days later, Yunsu filled in his application and received the admission notice quickly. More than a week later, the admission notice from Hwaking arrived at Yunsu's hands at rocket speed. As if he was afraid that she would regret it, Yunsu was the first to get the notice, faster than the local students admitted to Hwaking. If it weren't for the sake of maintaining the last bit of face for the top school, Professor Wang even wanted to give it to Yunsu himself. So sent it over. After receiving the notice, Yunsu was not disturbed, but his family was happier than in the Chinese New Year. Yoon Daejin waved his hand and threatened to hold a grand entrance banquet for Yunsu. This time, Yunsu did not stop it. After all, everyone should be invited to eat a meal, especially the teachers at school. Qin Jiao knew the news, although he couldn't get away, but he didn't delay his contribution. He directly asked Yulan to suspend business for a day to be responsible for Yunsu's college entrance banquet. Unexpectedly, Yoon Daejin also set his sights on Yulan. Although he had never been to Yulan, he also knew that it was the best hotel in Lanchinge. Although it was expensive, Yoon Daejin could not afford it now. He wanted to go to school. Banquet. If you want to do it, do the best. Yoon-soo had no choice but to tell Yoon Daejin that Yulan was a store owned by his friend and could get a discount. To avoid his suspicion, Yoon-soo only conservatively said a 30% discount. In this way, Yoon Daejin praised this friend for a long time and bluntly asked him to come to the college entrance banquet. Yoon-soo was so frightened that he quickly said that he had something to do and couldn't come, so Yoon Daejin gave up. On the day of the college entrance banquet, in addition to Yoon-soo's teachers, classmates, and friends, there were also people from the company invited. Most of the people in Yunchin's technical department are social phobic. They sat at 2 tables alone in the corner. Their incompatible temperament with the other tables made many people aware of it. "Who are those 2 tables over there?" Lian Yu asked casually. He didn't seem to know anyone. There were a group of people of different ages and looks. Where did Sister Yoon know them from? Lian Zila, who was on the side, was holding his child and glanced casually, his eyes slightly focused. The one in the black suit at the table in the corner is Junyu Sulin. The boy from the Zhou family seemed to be there too. What? Lian Yu turned his head in shock. Why is he here? For banquets such as college entrance banquets, usually only people with close relationships will come. Who knows? Why are you worrying so much? Just be patient and don't move. Lian Zile's eyes were filled with meaning, and he lowered his head and continued to tease the child. Sulin, a strange guest, was not the only one present. Aren't the Jun family's father and son over there sitting there obediently like ordinary guests? End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 240. Chapter 240, At the Entrance Banquet. Others looked at Yunchin's 2 tables, but they didn't know that they were also discussing in low voices. Josei looked around carefully. Hey guys, all the big guys are coming to Sister Yun's college entrance banquet. What? Baya asked curiously, aren't they just ordinary guests? What kind of boss? You're an ordinary ghost. Josei was speechless at his lack of knowledge. That table, the one holding the child, can't you recognize the secretary of our city? The secretary is so down to earth, right? You just came here with your child in your arms. Baya was stunned. At the secretary's table, there is also the second young master of the Ling family in Beijing. The parents and grandsons of Qin are also here. And that table, the Jun family and his son, Jun Weie's illness is really cured, Josei said in an incredible tone. Who did Jun Weie, who was sentenced to death, meet? He was suddenly pulled back from the gate of and cured. Sure enough, it was fate and luck. Wait, Baya, who had learned a lot about science, looked at him suspiciously. Why do you know everyone? Josei smiled dryly and said, I've seen it, I've seen it. And Mi Yunho-fan raised his hand silently. You are still Sister Yun's apprentice after all. Okay, thank you. Yun-soo reached out and took it. A serious person like Lao Li drank some wine today and got a little drunk. When he got excited, his eyes became red. Sister, happy going to school. Jun Weie could now say this title without changing his face. Thanks. Finally Yun-soo arrived at the teacher's table. Yun-ho-fan, who was built on his balance. There is no need to step on it like this, right? Although it was a college entrance banquet, there were not that many complicated procedures. Yoon Daejin simply said a few words to thank everyone for their concern and care for Yun-soo, and then let everyone eat and drink. Hoon Tang-shi smiled like his own child going to college. Good boy. You are actually a rich second generation. Baya looked sad and angry. He was not a fool. How could Jose-Iu's family background be worse after seeing these people? Yeah, Jose-Iu was confused. Yunsu took turns to pay respects at each table. Susu, happy going to school. Ling Yu still had a smile as gentle as Catkin's. Lan Chi, who was eating with his head down, was suddenly cued and gave him a cold look. Everyone was very happy for her, and they kept saying their free blessings. Uncle Jun, Muya Yunsu raised the cup. That's true, how could I have forgotten this? Baya was comforted, and instantly felt much more balanced, and was once again proud of his original foresight. Jose-Iu has a mine at Brother Yuki's house, and Jia Y has worked for so long and has a certain financial background. Brother Lin must not be short of money, let alone the big guys from the Hacker Alliance. Uncle Lian, Aunt Tan, Grandma Lian, and Grandpa Lian, I respect you. The whole Lian family went out to attend her college entrance banquet today. Baya pointed to the side, Brother Chi. The kind that mines at home are real mines. I am the only poor guy in the entire technical department, Baya reacted belatedly. He took out a brocade box and said, this is the gift the teacher asked me to bring you. I knew from the beginning that you would have great potential. Great potential, this sentence has been what Lao Li wanted to say to Yunsu when she won the award before. In the future, you must walk more steadily and stand higher. A place where we can see it at a glance. I believe in you. To this day, Lao Li still clearly remembers that day. The well-behaved girl casually wrote down several problem-solving methods on the blackboard. The confidence and indifference in her eyes were astonishing. Lao Li, thank you. Yunsu said thank you seriously, and she was also aroused. If Lao Li hadn't insisted on letting her compete, maybe she wouldn't have found her goal now. She was very grateful to him. Teacher Yan, Teacher He, thank you too. Thank you all for giving her the greatest trust and tolerance. Yan Yu and He Kong, Yunsu's two head teachers, also smiled happily. Yunshin, keep charging. As long as you are rich and honorable, don't forget each other. I will always pay attention to you. You must do well, you must be the brightest. These are all classmates who are relatively close to her. They all have tears in their eyes, but they still bless her with smiling faces. Yunsu's eyes were a little sour. Thank you everyone, and I wish you all a bright future. The banquet of youth will eventually come to an end, but the people who leave do not disperse with the wind, and some feelings do not fade away after leaving, but become more and more fragrant like fine wine. They believe that one day we will see each other again, and we will definitely do so. In midsummer and August, the summer in Lanchinge has always been difficult. Standing under the sun for a while will peel off a layer of skin. Even the wind blowing is hot. Cicadas are also whining feebly, but they are also unique to watermelon, soda, and the season for cold beer, pretty white skirts and white shirts. Cheers. At night, at a noisy barbecue stall, a group of people of different ages shouted and drank the wine in their glasses. Everyone had a cheerful and relaxed smile on their face. It's finally over. Well done to everyone. Sulin no longer had the calmness of the past. Today he took off his usual suit and wore an old man's shirt, shorts, and slippers like everyone else. He lost all manners and manners. Baya stared into the huge panda eyes and said faintly, I'm about to die suddenly. Jose-Iu raised his hand, me too. Who isn't? A large group of men had stayed up all night. Their eyes were bloodshot, their beards were unkempt, and their clothes were wrinkled. No one could tell that they had just completed an earth-shattering event. Yunsu, who is clean and refreshing, is an anomaly among this group of people. The owner of the barbecue stall has looked at her several times with hesitant eyes. Girl, if you are kidnapped, just blink. Yunsu understood the boss's eyes and laughed so hard that he could no longer hold the skewers in his hands. Sister Yun, why are you laughing? You won't be so happy after the project is completed, right? Jose-Iu was surprised. Sister. The boss hand stopped for a moment while grilling the skewers. Is this the little girl still the boss? Okay, let's get down to business. Yunsu stopped smiling and said seriously. Now that the game is finished, the next step is to introduce myself to everyone. Sister Yun, is it a little faster? How about we optimize it again? Everyone looked a little hesitant. Although they were very confident in their products, wasn't this speed a bit too fast? Quickly? Not soon, we don't have much time. Sulin put down the skewers in his hands and sneered, I got the news that in 3 days, Figzu will hold a press conference to announce their holographic game, and it will be announced soon. There will be a closed beta test. What? Sulin's words shocked everyone in the audience. Figzu can't really make it. Jose Iu's face turned ugly. Impossible. Cheng Jiawai, who knew Figzu best, shook his head, they don't have that strength. Hong Ai recalled the news he learned in Figzu at that time, and shook his head. If it were true, he might have stayed there long ago. Of course it's impossible, Baya pointed to the circle of people present. It's no exaggeration to say that the most powerful computer masters in the world are basically here now. What do they do? Dream. Baya is right. Sulin nodded, it's just a pretense and a bluff. Our soldiers will cover up the water and the earth. Sister Yun, why are you so calm? Yunsu swallowed the meat in his mouth slowly. Are they worthy of mentioning the word holographic? They are not worthy of attention. She is absolutely confident that in this era, no one can develop holographic technology. The technological gap is still far behind. Although it is not worthy of attention, it is still a disgusting thing, especially at this juncture. Sulin slowly analyzed it for everyone. Once Figzu releases the news, he will definitely be ridiculed. When the public no longer has hope for holographic games, it will be the time for our Yunchinj to be born. At present, we just need to wait and see if they change. They will slap themselves in the face. Is this the case of suppressing desire first? Baya suddenly realized. Yunsu chuckled lightly, Figzu will not be an obstacle to us, it will only be a stepping stone for us to take off. Infected by Yunsu's mood, everyone felt relieved. After all, they had absolute confidence in their own products. Come on, let's keep eating. Baya, you haven't drunk that glass of wine just yet. I drank, you didn't see it yourself. Drink the hell, don't even think about it. Sister Yun, why don't you drink? I'm allergic to drinking. Yunsu opened her mouth. The owner of the barbecue stall would not have thought that this group of unkempt and unusual people would cause such a stir in the world in the future. End of this chapter.